Two, one, and we're live. So, welcome everyone to the second part of this conversation on the 2 weeks that changed Indian cricket. And those 2 weeks are, of course, in March 2001. It's 25 years of that. Between March 11th and March 25th, essentially March 11th and March 22nd, you had the Kolkata Test match and the Chennai Test match, and it probably taught India that hey, we can compete in the biggest stage against the toughest opposition like Australia, and we actually stopped them from their streak where we just stopped it. They came to India with 15 matches on the trot. They won Mumbai, but when they were attempting the 17th in Kolkata, that's when they were stopped in their tracks. And guess what? After the high of Kolkata happened the Chennai Test match. Joining me today is Nirav Ghosh. Last time we had Sujay Gupta who joined us. So we've swapped one Bengali out and got another Bengali. So welcome, Nirav.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you for having me
So,
and helping me the cricket tragic become a cricket nostalgic today.
so what were you doing in 2001 March when the Chennai Test match was on?
I
Any
don't have a
memories?
vivid memory of 2001 Chennai Test. I do remember the Kolkata Test was actually, in a stretch of holidays. I think there was Holi as one of the days. It also ended on Easter, so there was a string of holidays that week. So I was like, so Kolkata Test, I remember watching all 5 days. The Chennai Test, I think, it was one of those times of back to work. It was very early in my career, back to work. And so I have a memory of day two, like watching. I mean, of course, over the years, you watch the highlights and again, and then you kind of get a refresh. I have a memory of day two first session because it started at, 9:30 in the morning. So I delayed going to work that day. And I think we lost 5 wickets in the first session or 6 wickets in the first session after having a incredible day one, Australia. So that was second day, and I also remember the last day's chase. So that was nerve wracking. I think because the Chennai had a previous nerve wracking thing a couple of years earlier with the Pakistan match, where it
Yeah,
came down to the
1999.
wire with so that was the memory which was fresh at that point in time. It was just, I think it was about a year and a bit earlier, not very
Two
yeah,
years,
but
2 years
from
and 2 months. That was, I think,
okay.
Jan 27th to Jan 31st in Chennai 19. I had been to both those games.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
in,
Um,
Interestingly, on day three on both of the games.
okay.
And my memories of that game, it wasn't a thing to go for test matches back then because it was very tough landing your hands on tickets. You have to go stand in a queue
Tangentially, yeah.
and you have to look at the newspaper notification that tickets were going to be up on sale, and they'd say TNCS the stand. And I remember for 99 match, I think I was able to get tickets because my mother was working in Wills ITC, and Wills was the sponsor around that time. So, and even for this 2001 Test match, ITC was a central sponsor. They had told that Wills the name can't come. So, if you remember, I think they had something about Indian hotels or something like that on the T-shirt. So
Okay.
that's how I would otherwise get match tickets because I wouldn't know where to go stand in a queue. But
Mhm.
when the match started, I had no clue that I was going for the game, and I was just relying on newspaper reports. And first day was actually, I remember sitting at home and watching Australia pulverize India 326 for three on day one. I went on day three. Day two, India had a very good start. I think they
Yeah,
finished the day at
that's what I remember. That's what I. Oh yeah,
211 for one. Very good start, and
100
I
run
went on
opening
day
partnership, which was a rarity through the 90s. So it was. I mean, so obviously we are talking about how this match and this series, you know, um, not just I mean, it wasn't just a series win, it was a rewriting of belief, right? So I think that
absolutely.
that 100-run opening partnership was something I don't remember for years before. So it's not like I just started watching test cricket. For I'd watched it for several years. We Since Gavaskar, I couldn't, I could, maybe there was the odd opening partnership, 100-run, but this one was special because the staunchest of Indian cricket fans had faith in Shivsundar Das and Sadguman Ramesh to pull off a 100-run partnership. The era which happened after that with Sehwag coming in and a lot of other good openers coming in over the next 6 to 8 years hadn't happened then. So through 90s we were okay. somebody is opening. In some cases, the wicket keeper. In some cases, it was Manoj Prabhakar. In some cases, so the Ravi Shastri started the 90s as one of the openers. So through that, through the 92 post 92 World Cup, that Australia series on to 99 2000, I think we had a big opening problem. And I think, so we had a very, very strong 3-4-5-6 always through the 90s. Initially, it was Manjrekar, Tendulkar, Azhar, and well, there was a Sidhu also at in that 3-4-5-6, I think, at most times. And then that transformed to Dravid, Tendulkar, Lakshman, and Ganguly, right? So we had a very good 3-4-5-6 through the 90s, but we never had an opening pair. So it was always, yeah. So there you go. Santosh comes in and says, my
Yeah,
sentiments.
even Aussies couldn't fathom the fact that they would give away a century. And,
Yeah.
and I think from what you just said, right, India
Because
had
we
like
were walking two wickets.
unsettled.
It was always a walking two wickets, right? It was throughout Tendulkar's first part of his career. The old Gavaskar joke of whatever time you come with the score is still zero applied to him
Yeah,
as well.
that's
Because
famous.
invariably he was walking in. Invariably Dravid was opening the batting. He was first over, second over, and with a bowling lineup like McGrath and Gillespie, you expected that, right? You
Right.
expected um, you expected early wickets. So from so when India went out to bat 390 something, which was again a miracle because, as you said, 326 for three, and then 60, 70 runs later they're bowled out with a Matthew Hayden 200 in there, by the way. So we'll come to that, I think. But I think
Actually, I had a little stat to
yeah.
put. While you had mentioned that India had not had a century stand, I remember back in the days,
I mean, don't get
Devang.
technical on this. Don't. I mean, it's not.
I know, I
I'm
know,
not a
no, no. I
cricket
agree. I
statistician,
agree.
but I think
Again,
it's largely
nor
the feeling. It's a feeling,
yeah,
right?
nor am I, nor am I,
One day
nor
cricket
am I
aside.
one day cricketer, sir. But I think back then in the 90s, we had just started with Debang Gandhi as a opening combination. If you remember the 99 tests where, 99 series when New Zealand had come over to India,
Huh.
that was
There
the
was
last
even
time that I that was
yeah.
the
Go
last
ahead.
time I remember India actually had a century run stand. Apart from that, yes, as you said, the days of Nayan Mongia opening with either Prabhakar or Sidhu were the memories that I have. But Debang Gandhi is probably Debang Gandhi and Sadagopan Ramesh
I mean, in
at
in in
Mohali.
England, Ajay Jadeja opened in '96. I mean, he became an opening batter in a Test match. Vikram
Right,
Rathore. These kind of guys were opening the batting who didn't do too well. They were good batters, but it was
right.
a walking, 2 wickets.
Absolutely. In fact,
Was
even in
always the
that
case.
series, when you say walking wicket, right? The in Mumbai, I think opening partnership was 10-0. In Kolkata, it was 0-39. And here in Chennai, finally we had Shivsundar Das and Sadagopan Ramesh have a 120 odd run opening partnership. It was
And the
actually very,
context
very
for this
impressive.
opening partnership also is important because day two, the ball was turning square in the morning, right? So that's when Harbhajan ran through them. Because
Right,
if you
right.
remember, I think there was, I can't remember, the Shane one was okay, second innings. But that ball turned square where Shane one tried to pad up and um, tried to pad up outside the off stump and the ball turned square. So that was the second innings. But day two, the first innings, it had started turning square. And they lost a lot of wickets in a hurry. I think out of the six,
No,
seven
you're
wickets
right.
which
You're
fell.
right. Because they were 326 for three. After Steve Waugh got out handling the ball, I think 340 for three they were. 51
Yeah,
for seven is where I think Australia collapsed.
yeah.
And yeah, I think it turned, man. That's why because I think Harbhajan got
Good,
seven
good,
wickets.
fielding throughout. I think the one of the things with our that phase of Indian cricket was that our close and catching became very good with Dravid and Shubsundar Das. They were outstanding close and fielders. And I remember, I think first wicket which fell,
On
there was
second
actually a
day,
cup on. There was a fantastic catch
on,
by Hemang Badani as a substitute. I remember
you're
that.
right. Hemang Badani
Uh,
caught that of Mark Waugh
I-
off
yeah. So
Sairaj
was that?
Paratule.
Yeah. So a lot of, and there was a good catch in the outfield by Ganguly as well. So there was a lot of good running catches. In fact, in the second innings, there was a Zahir Khan's best ever career catch. Um, it was a lefty who slog swept. Like it must have been Langer or somebody. Watch it. Watch the highlights for Zahir Khan came in from the boundary 25, 30 meters in, drove full length, took a catch inches, not even inches. His hand was on the ground and the
Uh,
ball fell.
when you say slog
Uh,
sweep, I'm just thinking it must be Matthew Hayden because I remember
was it
left
Matthew
arm,
Eden?
slow left arm
Okay, let me just
orthodox,
check.
slow left arm.
Let
Nilesh
with
Kulkarni bowling
Nilesh
to Matthew
Kulkarni. Yeah.
Hayden
Yeah.
and maybe Zahir caught
Second
because
innings,
in
Zahir.
my mind in my mind, I'm just thinking how else would have done a slog sweep. I'm only able to think of Hayden and that angle, probably Nilesh Kulkarni. Anyway, so but yes, you I
I'm
think
just
you
going
you
through
have to look at.
who took who, because these things. I mean, it's not. Well, second innings there was no real. Yeah, it was Matthew Hayden. So obviously a match turning catch as well, right? In context. So
Of course, given the
yeah,
way Matthew Hayden batted in their first innings,
first innings.
but
Yeah,
at 326 for three on day one, where Matthew
yeah.
Hayden, it looked like he had taken off from whatever he couldn't accomplish in Kolkata, because at 197 for one or 193 for one in Kolkata in the post tea session, that's where Matthew Hayden surrendered his wicket. But in this case, that didn't happen. Hayden, went on, and I think they had a
Not for
very
lack of trying. He had quite a few like cross-batted slogs which top-edged over an extra cover fielder or something. So there were. It was a chancy knock. It wasn't a. But yeah, for I would say 95% of his innings, I mean, he's a broad guy and his bat looked as broad. So.
right. And to me, at that point of time, I was surprised to see Matthew Hayden, because I had memories of Matthew Hayden coming in the 1991 tour of India going to Australia. Matthew Hayden played one of those side games, so I think he was part of Queensland. I remember him and Greg Ritchie batting. So here was a
Mhm.
player I had heard back in 1991, and I think he had played 93 Ashes, but had then been very in and out of the Aussie side. So to me, I
Yeah, it
thought,
was
wow,
tough
what a
because they
time.
had Mark Taylor as one opener fixed for most of the 90s, and they rotated the other between Michael Slater and Justin Langer opened, and then Matthew Hayden had a tough time getting into that top three. So it required. I mean, but then he had a compelling run of very similar story to Lakshman's actually. There is a compelling run of form in 97, 98 where they just kept making hundreds for fun. So it was literally like, okay, we'll make space for them in the batting order in that sense.
So I didn't get the Lakshman point. Yes, I remember
But Lakshman
Lakshman
also
didn't
had
play.
had a initial run, was
Mhm.
discarded effectively, but then came back
Correct, correct.
literally like with two 1,000 run seasons in the domestic,
In in in
and
Ranji, you're
in
saying.
domestic cricket.
Got it,
Yeah.
got it.
So Matthew Hayden had a similar thing in 97 and 98, or 98 and
Got
99. I
it.
can't. So they both came. I mean, both trajectory was very similar. Tried, discarded, couldn't find their way because there was no slot, right? So as I said, the
Right.
middle order in Indian, so even when Lakshman had to come back at some point, he had to come back as an opener in Australia in '99. So things like that had to happen for the middle order batter to come through. But the compelling weight of the runs they made in domestic cricket forced somebody to say, okay, we need to make space despite a settled
Interesting that
batting
you
line.
said 97, 98, 99. That was the time I think Hayden last played for Australia. So maybe he was dropped, and then he had like maybe two
I think he
amazing
had 5 years
seasons.
out. I think he had 5 years out if from between 94 and 99 or two, some.
Yeah, 94 he started. Then he
Yeah,
played, I think, the 96, 97 series
okay.
till I think just their summer. He played the summer there. And I don't know, he opened with Matt Elliott, or I don't know, or maybe Matt Elliott, or I forget who was the other. Michael DiVenuto was one of their other openers around that era.
But
So,
the
yeah,
other
maybe
opener would have been Taylor. Yeah, Taylor was the captain till 99,
Taylor
right?
was a captain, but I'm talking of the other guys who were, who were on the chopping block. Mark Taylor, of
Rotation, yeah.
course,
There was a
had a
rotation.
consistent run with Slater. So I think whenever Slater was probably not in form, that is probably when the 97 they started experimenting with other
Yeah.
openers. Hayden had yeah, I think he was back after like 4 years, and
Mm.
quite comeback, because I think Hayden came back, and one really didn't expect him to perform at that level. But he had just made his comeback towards the end of 2000 and 2001, where I think he had played West Indies and New Zealand. He hadn't really scored like 100. He had a couple of 50s. So I don't recall Hayden having that aura. But by the end of that series, 540 odd runs in that three test match series, I think everybody suddenly started seeing Hayden as a very different batter.
The thing is, we as Indians were aware that Mark was a fantastic player of spin, right?
Right.
Um, I think in that series they showed that it wasn't just Mark Waugh. There was also Steve Waugh, who was a great player of spin bowling, and then Matthew Hayden was a complete revelation. And I mean, it didn't finish there. I think 2004 it carried on, right? So Matthew Hayden was just a very tough guy for Indians to get out, and I think the world over because he held the world record of 380 for for some point in time. So he was a batsman with an incredible hunger for runs, and very dominating as a figure, right? Intimidating
Right.
figure. Because I mean, Gilchrist didn't look physically intimidating, in that white ball era of theirs with Matthew Hayden at the top. But Matthew Hayden looked physically intimidating. I mean, it's almost like, every time an Indian bowler went in and they try, I remember this Sreesanth in the 2007 World Cup, T20 World Cup, giving him the stare. When they show the split screen, I mean, there's a physical disparity in their sizes.
Right.
They're in
Right.
drastically different weight categories. So Matthew Hayden had that physical. I mean, he's a big guy. He's a really big guy, and really looked like he had a really wide bat all the time.
Right. And now that you mentioned Adam Gilchrist in the same vein, Adam Gilchrist started the series so well. That 100 along with Matthew Hayden, even though they were their or white ball openers, Hayden, batted still at the top, whereas Gilchrist came in at 7. But I think one thing was very critical for India to win that series was to get through Gilchrist's defense. Gilchrist had I think, the most poor series after that. After that 100 in Mumbai, I think Gilchrist had like a series of ducks. I don't know how much he scored in the Chennai Test, but everything was 0-1, very binary kind of scores. So I think that way India, because when the collapse happened on day 2, Steve Waugh at 340 for 3, I thought Australia was heading for a 500 total. I was just wanting that the test match to end in a draw on day 1. And I remember I was, back then Camlin used to sell these 10 rupee crickets where I could have the small ball and I had the small bat. And I used to basically play cricket like this on my floor and then watch the TV. And I was, I think, studying engineering in college. I know it's when you're 18, there are better things to do. But unfortunately, being addicted to cricket, this is the cricket I used to play from 6th standard, this and book cricket. And I believed that if I did that, somehow wicket would fall. So I had my own superstitions, but nothing was happening on day 1. And suddenly we saw this collapse happening on day 2. And I never expected India to, and it's very important that we, got through that. And as you said, right, great fielding, because there are a lot of catches taken by the close-in fielders. And I wasn't able to believe how Harbhajan was able to deliver that successful, like before the series, Kumble was injured. I never thought Harbhajan would be so successful. There was, in fact, an interesting point. Meanwhile, we have Amit who's joining us today. Hey, Amit, hi.
Hi, everyone.
It is appropriately dressed in his whites.
Yeah, I just changed to whites. I thought we are discussing Test cricket, so let's wear whites today.
So I remember Amit talks about this particular jersey, and he says that this is the one. Is this the one where you didn't get without Dream 11?
No, this is the one with Dream 11. The non-Dream 11 is only for Test matches, like the actual match.
Right. So Amit, while we were just speaking about the second day's play,
I was listening.
You were listening, right? So the question that I had is, what were you doing at that time, and what were your memories of this game?
So I think that series has like a very good memory in my life. So basically, I was around 10 years old. So it was. So just to start, the first match that I remember watching is in '96, the World Cup semi-final. Not the semi-final, but a match against Australia, I think, which we lost, in which Tendulkar got stumped, I think, on the leg side. I still remember that was the first match that I watched on TV, which we lost against Australia. I think it was in the group stage.
Right.
You guys can hear me, right? Yeah.
I can hear you. Yeah, I was just looking at the stumping is probably that Kolkata game.
Yeah. Which I think that was a semi-final, but in the quad, like that the group stage also we lost.
Australia against Australia, Wankhede, Marco bowled him wide outside.
Later, leg side towards like
right outside.
Yeah. So that time, like when you start watching cricket, Australia, even Sri Lanka was doing good. So you always thought, okay, we are not a good team, because I had no history. It was not like someone told me about the history. So it was always like very, very India does not do well. Then also 99 World Cup, again, the same thing happened. We were out very soon, or we did not play well. So that was the first series which I ever remember. I was 10, 11 years old. And how we came back from that series, like I think 1-0 down, we won the Kolkata Test and then the Chennai Test, right? Yeah. So the one memory that I have, which we will, I think, get on later, is that chase in the fourth innings. We were chasing some 150, 160. I forgot the exact number. And I think we were cruising at 100 for something. And then suddenly 3-4 wickets fell. And it was like Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath will like just win this for Australia. And somehow we managed to win it. and that was like, yeah, India is there, we can be there. So I became a Dada fan after that series, like.
Right.
Karthik, you'll understand this to some extent. But to tell people of Amit's generation of where India was, in February of 2001, right? Just to put in context, I mean, test matches at India, we would beat Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe, the minnows, relatively, the newer ones.
Right.
Bangladesh still had made. And in an era where we would doctor pitches, as they were called back then, for spinners, we would beat England and New Zealand as well. And that was it, right? Because every other team had better all-round bowling attacks, irrespective of making them graveyards. So we would lose to West Indies, we would lose to Australia, even in India or South Africa, we lost series in India. So it was in an earlier era where there was Rajesh Chauhan, Anil Kumble, Venkatpati Raju. So
Chakravarti
that was
Raju.
these were three spinners in the first half of the 90s, let's say. But India's, I mean, as a young kid at that time, relatively, for me it was obviously the white ball equivalent, which was ODIs at that time, right? So in an ODI, honest to God, it was every match day. It was, if today Sachin Tendulkar gets 100, and if Robin Singh and Ajay Jadeja finish well, and if Srinath gets an opening wicket, and if Venkatesh Prasad holds his end in, and if Kumble runs through the tail, then we might win. That was the
Right.
feeling of an Indian fan. Pretty much every time we went out to match, it was like whole bunch of things had to go right, you know, and then we might win. There was always that, right? Today, it's very hard to explain that was a mindset. Today you go in saying, "Acha, koi baat nahi, toss nahi hare, to matlab, today we will set and chase win, or today we will chase and win in white
Right.
balls," right? That's how our mindset has changed in these 25 years, and I think 2001 is important for that reason, because we just didn't win I mean, that year didn't just see a series win against a world dominating, all conquering Australians, right? It gave, I think, Indian cricket a spine, because we also came from a 2000 match fixing kind of an era where there were the seniors, which in definitely, by that I mean Tendulkar not wanting to captain the team and get into controversy. So it gave, I think, that year, that series gave India a spine, a mindset change, to do something with Saurav Ganguly's captaincy in a way as well, and a pathway. And we went down that, we journeyed on that path, with a never before seen confidence, with a self belief and a positivity that paved the way to becoming a number one team in all formats over the next 15 years. Right? I think, if how do I put it succinctly?
No,
If
I get
2000,
that feeling.
you know,
It was a
before
seminal moment
2000,
for Indian cricket.
right? We hoped to compete, and now we've reached a point 25 years later where we are expected to win. Right? So
Right.
that, I think,
Expected.
we become that Aussie team, right? Where if they lose, it's a shocker, right? Because you had to see Adam Gilchrist's face at on the last ball, right? When Harbhajan ran,
Right.
you had to see his face. He had okay. So those 15 victories of theirs coincided with his first 15 wins, right?
Exactly.
So, that was a streak he was on. He had never lost. In fact, he still holds the record for the highest percentage of won Test matches, as a player of more than 10. That's his stat. Who's played more than 10 Test matches? But like, imagine that guy, right? Imagine that guy who's won 16 Test matches, doesn't know what it's like to even draw, right? And him having to face a loss, and then 3 days later to face a series loss where he decides he will go at one drop, right?
Yeah, he came at
That
three.
also happened. That the post that he shared that with us on Breakfast with Champions, that it was his decision to say that I will go one drop and take the attack to Harbhajan, or to whoever
Right.
the spinners are, right? So he did that. He got out, I think, 0 or 1, whatever, like, binary. But yeah, that was a thing where we started, saying, okay, there is something called big match temperament. There is something called handling, people with handling pressure. And Saurav Ganguly identified those people and carried the team
Right.
with them.
True.
I think it's very, very commendable. And going back to that earlier point that you made, I actually did not know what to expect from India, because when I look at the last two home series, we played what potentially a one-match series. We played a one-match series versus Australia in '96, where Mongia made that 152 at Kotla. We won that. 98 we won the test matches in Chennai and in Kolkata, and we lost in Bangalore. But when we went to
This was a
Australia in
very
99,
different team. It was a very different team.
very
Like
different team, and
there were
yeah,
11 match
a lot of
winners in.
people.
Okay, again, Colin
Correct.
Miller, I never played, but apart from that, everybody is an iconic player. All the other 10 players. Right?
Interestingly, I was just thinking, what is Colin Miller doing? There's this meme, right, where there are people in a war and then there is this clown inside saying, what is Colin Miller doing? Because just the previous series, Australia versus West Indies, Courtney Walsh couldn't face Colin Miller because he had that blue color hairstyle, and he
hair.
actually stopped blue
Yeah.
color, this thing, hair. And I was like, how is this guy? And I remember Chennai is probably when Colin Miller announced himself, where I think he would take those 2-3 wickets exactly, Lakshman getting out and Dravid getting out. Then I was like, damn, even somebody like Colin Miller is able to come out here and pick wickets. So maybe I underestimated him, like as much as I underestimated Hayden at the start of the
I think he
series.
took 2-3 wickets at the last, right, in the fourth innings when we were
I
having
know.
a collapse.
Because
He
I
took the
remember
main
when
wickets.
Lakshman
It was
pulled
actually
that ball.
it was Gillespie and Miller who ran through the team, not
Yeah.
McGrath and Vaughan.
Yeah, Gillespie was stretching himself to bowl in Chennai, especially on a day 5 wicket. And I
No,
remember,
no,
I
he
think
beat Tendulkar for pace, so that didn't
around the
usually
wicket.
happen back.
Tendulkar round the wicket and bouncing
the
him out. And I thought Australia really made a very tough effort. And at 135 for 6, when Lakshman got out, I saw Tony Gregg's voice, raise up saying, "Oh, wow, Australia's going to win." With that kind of a voice, I was like, man, I think we're gone. And it exactly felt like 1996 Mohali, the World Cup semi-final, where Australia applied the choke on West Indies. West Indies were what, 180 odd for one, or 161 for one.
I was there.
You were there in Mohali?
96.
Oh, nice. Okay, I didn't know you had traveled to Mohali for the games, is it?
Yeah. Back in the 90s, I used to travel a lot to all games.
Is the quarterfinal we're talking about? Is the
Quarterfinal of the 96 World Cup. Quarterfinal.
Semi. Quarterfinal, Australia played in Chennai, which is Australia, New Zealand.
Or New Zealand, correct. New Zealand. Yeah, it was the semi-final. Stuart Law made runs, and Shane Warne ran through the West Indies at the end.
So I felt that, man, that moment is again happening here, where India could put it. And I had no clue about Sairaj Bahutule or Samir Dighe. Though these are players I've often read in the Sports Star magazine as playing for Mumbai, and these players do well. I hadn't really heard much about their batting exploits. And I've seen how the tail collapses for India 2 years back in Chepauk, when Sunil Joshi, I think, played the ball back to Saklan Mushtaq, and India lost that test match. Chennai has a lot of, these scary memories after that 99 test.
And we had nothing to believe that we would win this at that point. Because having said that, I mean, Harbhajan 15 years later made hundreds, but at that time he was a rabbit, right? I mean, that he went on to score the winning runs is just the miracle of, destiny. But and the other side was a debutant, right? I mean, do you remember the fact that it was Samir Dighe's first match? Do you know that the Eden Test is Nayan Mongia's final game ever for India?
I knew that. He got hurt here. I remember that ball.
Yeah. So that he never played again for India. I mean, he had some struggles with the allegations as well. But he didn't make a comeback. So this was Samir Dighe's first match, and Samir Dighe was one of 2 clones of Tendulkar who wore the same helmet and had the same stance and the similar look. I mean, Das and Dighe, they looked identical. I mean, in the grainy Doordarshan era footage, they had the same batting stance and the same helmet and the same stature.
Right.
So yeah.
But yes, that is day 5. We've got a little distracted, and we've jumped the gun directly to the end moment. But going back to end of day 1, I thought Australia were more so day 2. I think when India started, I didn't have that much confidence. But once I saw Sadagopan Ramesh, I see sometimes, because I was there when Sadagopan Ramesh made his debut. A couple of beautiful drives of Wasim Akram to end the day.
He looked good. He always looked good.
Yeah, the very languid grace where it looks like he's not really making a lot of effort, especially when he does those cover drives.
Lefties were a rarity at that time. You have to remember that also, right? He was one of the only lefties, I think, who played for India since the early 80s. Right? Throughout the 80s, there was no left-hander who played for India. Throughout the 90s, there was just him and Ganguly pretty much, and Robin Singh in the white ball format. I can't think of any other. W.V. Raman was a left-handed batter who barely played for India. But largely there were no lefties who used to play. So when a good-looking lefty batsman with the very very David Gower-esque in his strokes. But yeah, I mean that as much as he used to get the middle of the bat through the offside, he also used to get the edge. So lot
I
of
good
fishing would
60,
happen.
lot of fishing would happen, and he scored about 60. Shivsundar Das scored 84. I
With
went
sixes.
exactly on with sixes. Yes,
With
I remember. I think that six was scored on day three when I had entered or I don't know
no,
whether it
day
was
three he got out with the first ball.
day
Day
three.
three he got out with the first ball.
Ah,
Yeah.
so then it must be a day 2-6.
Yeah.
So
Couple of them, in
yeah, I
fact,
think it's a very low.
Shane Warne's log sweep, which is a very, I mean, if you look at those, it's a very Tendulkar type shots, which what Tendulkar had mastered. Just
I think Tendulkar scored a century, right, in the first innings.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Tendulkar
yeah.
came
I
in,
remember that he got a
came in
six
only on
off
day
Colin
three.
Miller. Tendulkar
Oh
came
yeah,
in on
he's
day
got
three.
his 100. He got his 100 off a six with the six. Yeah.
And it didn't look like he just started off from that Chennai knock of 1999, where he scored a century against Pakistan.
Yeah.
Tendulkar in Chepauk, I don't know many people realize it, but because I'm somebody who grew up in Chepauk, grew up around Chennai, I've seen Tendulkar score like Big Daddy hundreds at Chepauk, 164 against 165 against England in '93,
But
and
again,
then
England
155.
and with Yuvraj, he scored right with against England after that attack.
Correct, correct.
So when we
So
chased
Tendulkar, I
370,
think,
yeah,
has
yeah.
scored some
yeah.
easily 500s at Chepauk that I remember that Tendulkar has scored. So, in fact, whenever I used to go to Tendulkar, I mean, like to Chepauk, I used to call it the Triplicate Tendulkar Tiruvizha. Tiruvizha means festival in Tamil. And of course, Triplicate is the area around which you have Chepauk area. Interestingly, Chepauk, as much as Tamil Nadu people talk about in Hindi, Hatao, and no Hindi, the name Chepauk comes from six gardens, Che Bagh, and that's how Chepauk came. And yeah, I don't think some of my Tamil brethren they know okay that there is actually a Hindi etymological name to Chepauk as opposed to that being a Tamil place. So so yeah, so I think that I remember going on day three, and then Shiv Chandra Das got out of the first ball, and when Tendulkar came, I think he was very very quiet first session from what I remember. India didn't really try to upset or try to do too much in the first session. We had lost, I think, one more wicket. We ended the day on day two with only one wicket. At lunch, India were 266 for 390 odd
Yeah.
overs.
So,
So we had lost.
What I think happened was that I think we lost the first two back to back. If I remember right, Shiv Sundar Das went out the first ball, and I think within 10 minutes, Glenn McGrath had got another one. So it was
Would
a
have been
damn start on
Laksh.
day
Okay.
two. Lakshman would have been, yeah. So it would have been Lakshman in the 50s or 60s or whatever he did. And then it was Ganguly and Tendulkar who took us to lunch. Ganguly got out, I think, second over after lunch. So there was a
And carried lull.
like,
There was a
and
lull
then there was a
in
long
the
partnership. There was a long
right.
partnership on.
Somehow Dada in that series, right? As much as he impressed people with leadership, he really didn't impress with the runs. I don't think Dada made tough runs in this series at all. I don't remember him scoring in Mumbai nor in
It was a series
Kolkata
of
where he got
20s.
48.
It was a series
Yeah.
of 20s and 30s. He got
I
said.
think it was similar to
fish.
Kohli's series of 2016, where we won BGT, very hard fought BGT, but Kohli didn't score much. The home BGT in 2016-17.
Interestingly, it's also
But he didn't get
8
out to
years of
spin.
that.
Yeah. He got out to, like, it was always Glenn McGrath, Gillespie who were getting him out, caught in the slips. That was a recurring
Yeah,
pattern.
but even
which thing
Dada, I think with the Dada also the memory I have is somebody like McGrath or Gillespie bowling and him, at the bounce trying to defend and the catch going to either the keeper or the slip. It's like a lasting memory of Dada from that particular series. And if any Bengali is watching, I know Saurav Ganguly is there is of course a Bengali on the show, but a lot of Bengalis adore Saurav Ganguly and would not like if anything is said about Dada. But of course, I love Dada for the leadership that he brought to the series. But the Dada, the batter, wasn't mentally there. But it took Rahul Dravid to come, and Rahul Dravid and Sachin kind of batted at the same tempo. And I think I remember I was watching from what is now KMK Lower in Chennai. It was then called the MCC member stand. And the MCC member stand was far wider. You had a mid-off to mid-on kind of arc. And interesting, the way I got my match tickets were, I remember my dad dropped me in a Bajaj scooter outside Chepauk, what is now called as Bells Road. And he said, go figure out the tickets. So I know online back then, right? So I just walked around I didn't know where the ticket counter was. I had like some 200 rupees cash. And suddenly, and I was bunking college that day. My college had a strike, and it's like a big, violent strike going on for 12 days. So I managed to watch the Kolkata Test match. And since I'm bunking college, I'm in this very happy mood. And I then suddenly go bump into my college chairman. And he's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Sir, I've come to watch the game. Do you have a ticket?" I was like, "I don't have a ticket." "Okay, come, I have a ticket." And I was like, "Damn, am I actually bunking college with my college chairman and then watching the game?" And I've never been inside MCC. Right? Food and all is inside, right? So this is amazing. Because the only time I've been inside the MCC club was with a couple of my school juniors who were Krishnamacharya Shrikant's sons. We played cricket together in the same cricket team, and they took me inside MCC when we had a match at Mac B, which is a stadium, on the outer fringes of Chepauk. And here I was inside MCC watching Tendulkar bat. I just needed nothing else in life. At that point, life was fulsome, and I was getting to watch this happening. And while I'm talking, we have our fourth participant, Sujay, who's just got free and is joining us. Hi, Sujay.
Hello, sorry for the delay, but great to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So you're in time for the third day's play. And while I've been asking this question, and I think we're talking about the Tendulkar Dravid partnership, but what were
Right.
you doing, Sujay, at that time? Because I remember Amit said he was a 10-year-old, and there's also somebody else called Saurabh Sanyal who's given a comment on the group. He's saying that his 10th board was there. He only knows how he followed it. What were you doing in life? You seem to be the older statesman amongst us.
Very much. Statesman, I don't know, but age-wise, yes. So I was with the Times of India. I was in Calcutta as the deputy editor, watching the game closely, ensuring that the right headlines went out, the right stories went out. So third day is when India's first innings is still going on, right?
Yeah.
Third day India, yeah.
Yes. India batted through third day.
Yes, India's yeah. It was still going on, and I think that was when Sachin's 126 happened. Dravid got that great 81.
80 odd.
Right. That is so that particular. If you're starting with day 3, then of course I missed out the exploits of Harbhajan the previous day, and
Well,
then
you'll get another chance because his exploits didn't finish.
I was about to
So you get it. But yeah, we
Well, you see,
the
the
one you
thing
missed
is,
was
I mean, what was absolutely amazing is that again, this whole fascination with Harbhajan, which started in Kolkata and even before that. If you see, even in the first innings of Australia, they were literally cruising. They had a good partnership. They were cruising. They were doing pretty well, and then Bhaji gets in, and first there's that famous Steve Waugh handling the ball incident. That also came out of a great ball by Bhaji. Sorry,
which could have been LBW. Yeah.
it went ballooned up and
DRS.
dropped to the stumps. He was trying it. So even though it didn't get into Bhaji's tally, it was a great delivery. And then, of course, then he got that great stumping of Ricky Ponting, I think, done. I think that also happened.
Yeah.
I mean, the way where the ball kind of the top spin happened went the other way, and Das did a great stumping. So that was also very good. Then that
Yeah.
Adam Gilchrist LBW was also another great ball. So all amazing deliveries on a pitch where the ball wasn't doing too much for the other spinners. Also, by that time, the Indian batsmen, they had mastered. I mean, while the Indian batsmen had mastered one, the Australian batsman could not just master Harbhajan's guile and the way he was bowling. So, I think all that was happening by the third day when India forget following saving the follow on. They were going much beyond that, and with Sachin's innings, and Dravid, of course, batted a little lower down the order, if I'm not mistaken. He got an
He was
81.
batting at 6.
Yeah, because
that
after
whole series.
Yes.
Eden Gardens first innings, they made
Correct.
Lakshman
Correct.
as a number 3.
Correct. Because see, that was also I remember two things. One is, of course, a very good spell by Magrath. Amidst all this, that he bowled really well. He got, I think, Das, Lakshman, Ganguly. I think all that was a great spell. I remember that. But I remember the way Sachin played, and he played some of the best offside shots I've seen in a long time. And he was just driving on the up. He was, and of course, he took that poor other spinner. What's his name? That Colin Miller or whatever.
Colin Miller.
He made him look like one pedestrian, an absolute. So he was
Honestly, he was generous to both. I think
Correct.
he took won, and I think both of them went at 5 runs and over, if I'm not wrong.
Correct.
Or,
So that I
or
think
close to it, which was for that era was I mean, while
correct.
every time
Absolutely.
Glenn McGrath and this one were brought in to restore some sanity, both
Correct.
Dravid and Tendulkar were going after the spinners.
Correct.
Because I think we put up a good 300 odd, 200 odd on one day, and we reached almost 500 the next day, right?
Correct. Very true.
Right, 501.
501. We got 501. Correct. That's true.
But at that point, I have a question for both of you. If you've been following,
Yeah.
because I remember I was in Chepauk that day, and while India were doing very well when Dravid was batting, a sudden collapse happened, and I
Correct.
felt that, oh damn, 501 may not be enough, because Australia might come back in the second innings,
That's right.
going by the script in Kolkata. What were you
Correct.
thinking at that point of time?
Nirav, you would like to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. See, again, it was that we talk about what kind of an era it was. It was an era where, again, if the fifth wicket fell, you expected another 25 runs. And I think,
that is true today also, by the way, in Test cricket at least.
Well, not really. I mean, considering now we have guys like, Jadeja and Akshar and all batting all the way to the bottom. But yeah, I mean, there are times overseas when that could happen. But I think that was definitely an era where it was 5 down means Dravid gaya, and now whatever the score is at 25 at best, right?
Correct.
And you have to also remember, in that were 3 genuine bunnies: Nilesh Kulkarni, Zahir Khan, and Harbhajan Singh at that point of time.
Sairaj Bahutule,
I think
Sairaj
was an okay
Bahutule was
batsman.
Yeah.
Was a decent, competent batsman, and the other fifth guy was a debutant, right? Samir Dighe, whose batting I wasn't aware of. So
I had
the
heard of
expectation was
Samir.
I would love to talk about his batting, but when we come to the fifth day,
he'll come to Naha.
So I had actually heard about Samir. I had heard about Samir Dighe because he opened for India in the CUB series in 2000.
Okay.
Sachin and Samir Dighe opened for it, I think, in one of the or couple of the games, and Samir Dighe was completely at odds, as much as Devang Gandhi was not able to cope up with the rising ball and stuff. But of course, I'd heard of Samir Dighe as a number 5, number 6 batter for Mumbai in all those Sports Star editions that I've followed. But yes, do they inspire confidence, as what Nirav said? No. But yes.
So I have a feeling the tail did wag that day. I mean, more than the 25 runs. So I think they possibly the bottom 5 added 50, 70 runs, which was, so for me, it was 500 bahut hai. Like it's more than, so because again, it's the mindset, right? As a fan at that point of time, yes, we've had a miracle in Kolkata, but how can we dare to overtake Australia's first inning score? For me, that was an achievement.
Almost 49 runs.
Right. So when an opponent gets in 390, 400 mil gaya bahut hai. So
you
as
got
a fan, I was like,
110-run lead, which is a big thing that those days.
Big deal for a fan. I don't know tactically whether it was any good or not at that point in time, because we were going to be batting fourth. But yeah, I mean, it was unprecedented in a way in itself, right?
Correct.
Taking the first innings lead is not something which has happened in the series before, not by quite a margin.
That gave us also we must.
Both the series before, we were minus 250 or 300 in the first innings, right? So given that, to take 100-run lead is fantastic, man.
And do understand that time our callers were completely up. We will say follow on karke jeet gaye to first innings lead leke aap kya kar sakte. It was that we are very gung ho about these things. So
yeah, and India's whole Ranji thing was decided on first innings lead, right? So your happiness stemmed from the way the metrics were set back then. The first innings lead mil gaya, chalo ho gaya abhi. But when that thing happened, points mil jaye, but points bhi nahi milenge. But I think one thing I remember actually
but
was...
I think very, very clearly, I mean, and Sujay will remember this, a draw was a big thing for us. That was our aspiration.
That's true.
Ab lead mil gaya, kisi tarah 2 din na, or let them keep batting. Right?
Correct.
It's okay.
Correct.
We'll draw it. 1 all is good enough. So our aspiration was very, very low as a Indian cricket fan.
Yes, and also what happened in Kolkata gave us a newfound confidence in getting anything done from any situation. We were fresh from the Kolkata victory too. So that was, we are very confident that whatever happened, India would get this.
Right. And talking of collapse, when Tendulkar got out, I know Nirav said plus 25 after the 5th wicket, right? We did 33. So we were 8 runs better. Very similar collapse happened. But
Correct.
one point that you made, that Tendulkar was generous on both spinners. I have this memory of Tendulkar against off spinners at Chepauk. I think it was Gavin Robertson in 1998, Tendulkar against Colin Miller, and then Nathan Howritz back in the 2013 series. So again, this is just my memory from Chepauk that I remember Tendulkar dismantling an Aussie off spinner. I don't think Aussie off spinner has been very successful in India. Not even Shane Warne was successful, but I think Jason Krejza was maybe one bowler who got hit, but who still managed to pick wickets.
Yes.
Would you classify him as an off
One
spinner,
time.
Jason Krejza? Yeah,
All of
Yeah,
them
I
I'll
think so.
classify as right arm slow bowlers. I wouldn't.
right. Sevag, yeah, that's a very Sevag.
None of them would turn the ball.
Hmm.
So Colin Miller actually used to take the new ball, at some points in
But
time. Right?
Krejza, whatever, I mean, his action was such that he would either bowl straight or bowl middle going to leg. He wouldn't bowl a leg spin in that sense. So
Right.
that way he fits into the. Anyway, let's carry on. Yeah.
On to day 4 now. Now India all out for 501. Now I remember when the score was 193 for 3, Makwa was still batting. I was getting a feeling that as much as we have a lead of 110, what if these guys score like a lead of 200? Will that be too much for India to chase, or will we even attempt to chase? And that was my fear. And at 190 for 3, I never thought India could still win this test match. What were the thoughts going through? Because here, there's a point that one of you made that Gilchrist came in at number 3 and
Right.
Ganguly, spotted that, the temperament, that, big match temperament, Harbhajan would be able to get him out.
So I'll tell you one thing which I definitely clearly remember is that Slater opened with Hayden, and I think in the first 2 overs there were 2 sixes because Harbhajan took the new ball for the first time.
Okay.
So they were going after the bowlers, right? So somebody
okay.
can check the score. They were going hammer and tong because that was the way of looking at it, which was compounded with Gilchrist coming up. So it was because Hayden was in tremendous form and Slater wasn't, and this was Slater's way of dealing with the situation. I'll just check the score, but they really, they were scoring
Yeah, I
fast.
think Hayden scored a 40 ball 35, so a pretty fast inning.
Yeah, and it was Hayden's. So to remember, we brought. I mentioned this earlier. What was Zahir Khan's greatest catch in his career?
It was fantastic of Nilesh Kulkarni.
Nilesh
Nilesh
Kulkarni's
Kulkarni was bowling very badly,
wicket,
and
his
what a
first
catch!
wicket in 5 years.
But Zahir Khan's that running catch and the way, even today, Zahir says it was his best catch in his life. Even today,
It was definitely. It's an incredible catch.
yes. I mean, I can watch it over and over again. He was completely running
right.
against the ball, and in those days, people didn't dive. Even Saurav Ganguly, he would try to stop the ball with his foot. Even Saurav Ganguly was a very bad fielder. You should try. But Zahir in those days, making that dive and taking that, because I
The
remember
fast
Kulkarni-
bowler diving in India was unprecedented
Yeah, correct.
at that point of time.
God, what am
So
I
it is-
hearing? Two Bengalis talking about Saurav Ganguly saying he's a bad fielder. What is the word?
We are
He was an
Indians
average
first.
fielder, but he took a very good catch. In the first one of the innings, he took a very good catch at extra cover.
But
Running
coming
catch.
to that, Nirav, absolutely. In fact, that catch gave us a massive confidence that look, we'll get it done. Because I know our hopes were sagging a little bit, but that catch by Zahir, that is Zahir's wicket. That was not Nilesh Kulkarni's wicket at all. It was great, one of the greatest.
No,
catches.
it is, and I think it's very very tragic sometimes. These are things about memes and stuff like that. But Nilesh Kulkarni was actually a very very good bowler.
Right.
He was 6 feet 4 inches, and in domestic
Correct.
cricket he was a terror, right? Because he used to
Yeah, absolutely
get
correct.
sharp bounce and whatever.
He was a great
It's just
bowler
one
in
of those
Bombay,
things that his first, and he got a wicket of his first ball in Test career.
That's right. That's in Sri Lanka, yes.
How many people have that, right? In an innings which then the next wicket fell after 500,
He
600.
got Marwan Atapattu,
He got
Marwan Atapattu was his
So,
first
yeah,
wicket.
of his
and
first
yeah.
ball, and
Yeah.
then he did that, and then India didn't get another wicket for 600 runs, right?
Right.
After
correct.
that, there was a 600 run partnership after that.
Correct.
So
correct.
Nilesh Kulkarni then played a couple of matches, and then some other time, and then came back again in this match, and then
Right.
finally got a wicket, and which was his last wicket, I think. So he got
Correct.
two wickets in his career. Poor chap. I mean, you feel sometimes sad for him because he's a very
Correct.
intelligent bowler, a very intelligent man. But these are things happen. But what also we have to remember is that there was no Kumble, right? So if I remember correctly, this whole series, every time there were 2 changes, which were the 2 spinners. So I think a different set of 2 players played the first.
That's correct.
So I can't remember who the 6 bowlers
No,
were.
I
So
think in the
obviously Nilesh
last test they
Kulkarni,
dropped the
Sairaj-
pacer to play Harbhajan, Bhautule and Kulkarni.
No, so I
Yeah.
think we were
Correct.
getting in 2 spinners were coming in every game. So I think in this
Right.
match, Rahul Sangvi, the series, Rahul Sangvi played
Rahul
one
Sangvi
game.
only Mumbai. Rahul Sangvi played
One-
only
one
Mumbai,
game, right?
and then
So
instead of
Raju
Sangvi got
played in
Raju in
Australia.
Kolkata.
Raju.
But Sachin
then
was used as a spinner a
Nilesh-
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sachin was right arm, everything.
Yeah.
Right arm, everything. You're right. So India just had one pacer, Zahir Khan. 4 overs he bowled. Saurav Ganguly opened the bowling, and after that
In
you
the
had
first innings.
Harbhajan, Nilesh Kulkarni, Sairaj Bhautule,
Correct.
and that Indian spinner who we don't give credit, Sachin Tendulkar.
Yes. Correct.
So you're
Mr.
right.
Shin.
Later
The term
started
was
off with a
invented-
6 off Harbhajan. I just checked
Yeah.
Cricket Info's 4th over commentary. He actually
Right.
hit Harbhajan for a 6. I actually didn't remember that.
They
But
went
then
they went
how
they went
Harbhajan
hammer
got
and
it.
tongs.
But
Because
then,
it was, I'll tell you, there was I remember India got out, I think, halfway into the first section. And in the first hour, if I'm not wrong, they put in 50 odd runs with no loss. They really went after Indian bowling.
Yeah. So at 18.1, they were 82 for no loss.
That
So
is
that was
that
a-
is
Yeah.
five close to 5 and
Yeah.
over, man.
yeah.
That is
Which
amazing.
quite high. Yeah.
correct.
For that era.
For that
Close to 5 and over, and they were very positive start. So it's not like they're trying to play for
And against
a
potentially
draw.
two best bowlers, right? It was Zahir and
Right.
Harbhajan.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
um,
True.
so there you go.
So yeah.
So Nilesh Kulkarni's life-changing wicket.
Then of course, then again we have to talk about Bhaji's spell because it was Bhaji all over again. In that innings, it was after. I mean, that Michael Slater where Bhaji did almost like a Dusra, much before Dusra was so popular, moved away.
Right.
And he got a wicket. I don't think it was stumping. He just moved away, got the top edge, and was caught at slip. If I'm not mistaken, either he was stumped or he got caught at slip. That is Michael Slater.
Caught Lakshman, I think. No, Lakshman
Not
would
Lakshman.
ideally
So,
be short.
so it
short
moved the
leg.
other way, went to slip. So it was
Whose
the
was
classic.
whose was the down the leg catch?
Down the leg
It
catch
was
was
another outstanding
Dravid.
catch by Dravid.
Mark Waugh.
Mark was
Mark
correct.
Waugh.
What Saurav did
He was
was he
middle of the bat.
put a backward short leg. No, I mean almost like a leg slip, not a backward shot, almost like a leg slip, like a leg
And
gully.
if you remember, that was also the way Steve Waugh got out against Harbhajan, right, in the Kolkata Test match, where the ball turned,
Correct.
bounced, and then you had Hemant
Correct.
Madani at.
Correct.
at-
But
at
this was a
similar
classic
shot.
off spinner loop, plays edges, goes to leg slip, where Dravid takes a catch. So he took that, and then there was one another caught Dravid bowled Harbhajan was I think Ponting, if I'm not mistaken. Ponting also.
Yeah, Ponting was a walking wicket. Ponting
Yeah,
was
yeah.
a walking
No,
wicket.
but you have to
series.
say that he tried. This innings, he really tried.
Right.
He tried.
What was his highest score? Probably.
The struggle was
11
real
runs.
in this
11,
innings
correct.
because he was there, and he was. All our spinners ran through him. Like he kept trying to middle the ball. He
Correct.
just failed after, and then finally, I think he was put out of his misery literally.
So that day sealed it, Karthik. And last ball of the day when Harbhajan got Shane Warne,
Yeah.
Australia ended the day at 241 for 7. Last ball of the day.
The 80th over. Got it. Okay.
Correct. That is where I knew the game was done and dusted. I was very confident that day. I remember that.
I
Last
was,
ball.
but again, with India being India and having seen
There
the
was still
Chennai
Mark
Test
Waugh.
match of 1999,
Was
Mark Waugh was he? I think
Was he
Mark
already
Waugh was out with 193 for 5. Mark Waugh got out.
Mark Waugh was Mark Waugh was
Caught
Mark
out
Waugh was caught
Steve
Dravid.
Waugh.
Yeah, then Ricky Ponting, the last ball of the day, he got Warne, Shane Warne. Bhaji got Warne of the last ball of that day.
Interestingly, I was just do you guys remember Richard Blakey from the 93 tour?
Vaguely, not so much.
Okay, Richard Blakey as a wicketkeeper was Sachin's teammate at Yorkshire. He
Okay,
came to India and he totally averaged 25, or he scored 25 runs in that whole series. And he used to get out, caught Kumble or caught Chauhan.
Okay.
So I remember a very famous comment saying that if you did not want somebody, if you wanted to show how somebody couldn't bat against spin, Richard Blakey's example was always given in stand-up comedy for cricket jokes. So like that was Ricky Ponting, because to me, I felt it was a Blakey type series that he had, where Ricky Ponting looked totally at odds. He would just find ways to get out, and I think he would be very nervous, so he'd come down the wicket and then he would get out. So, I think Australia, that tail did not wag, and that was a very important reason why India were also slightly getting that margin ahead, because Australia's top order played, but the moment the top order did not play, the tail did not support them, despite having such a decent batting lineup. They just came a cropper against spin. So that was, I think, one of the reasons I think India was able to capitalize on that and not give those extra margins Not all series, because I remember Jason Gillespie played very well with Steve Waugh in the Kolkata Test. They went from 269 for 8 to score 445. But I remember it was frustrating. I was doing my engineering assignment, and the assignment felt so bad because Jason Gillespie was not getting out. Something to do with engineering drawing back then, first year in college. And so yeah, I think apart from that knock in Kolkata, it looked like Kolkata changed the whole, energy level that Australia had.
Yeah. Correct.
And when the final day began, I was nervous. I just didn't think what could be the situation. And what do you guys
So
remember?
I'll go back to the first. I'll go back to the second day, and I think it's nice because today is exactly 25 years since then. It is that 100-run partnership which did it. It is because I think when Australia would have come back after the Kolkata Test, yes, you've lost a match, but it's a miracle win, right? It's a once in a generation, two players outbat you, right? Or, and score so many runs. But I think, and that 100-run, so when they came in with the way Matthew Hayden batted and all, I think 400, close to 400 was a big enough score in the first innings in those days, right? A decent enough score, right? So I think going in there, they would have expected to bundle India out for 175, 200. The fact that it was 100 and whatever 10 for no loss meant that the wind is taken off their.
Good you mentioned it, because I forgot to. I mean, I was trying to talk about the Ramesh and Das partnership, right? You're talking about that. You're talking of that 100-run partnership, opening partnership. Yes, absolutely. More than the runs that they scored, it was the two things stood out: the effortless ease in which both were moving out to the spinners and whacking them. Even Shane Warne, he was bowling, outside the leg stump. Where are you guys? Why am I on the focus only? Oh, okay.
No, that's because you're speaking.
Okay. Sorry, okay.
So we are at the non-striker end. You are the one who's batting.
So what was very very interesting is that both Ramesh and Das, mastered both spin and pace. And Ramesh, I mean, that time he was looking so flawless. Going down the track, hitting balls in the middle onto the leg stump. Das was playing extremely well to even Shane Warne. All these things were happening. So it was just an absolute. The way they were flowing was just an absolute treat to watch. So you're right, that knock was very good, and after Ramesh got out, Das played some amazingly good knocks. I don't think Shivsundar Das has played so well later. Short character, and after that he took some two very sharp catches in standing at forward short leg when Australia batted. So all in all, these are underrated heroes, I think, who did extremely well.
Another underrated hero was
25 years back.
Yeah.
I think what I remember in those days, at least in the press, was that there was a lot of the umpires' decisions were suspect, right? The Indian umpire, because I think there was always one Indian umpire, and I think Rudy Kudzen in this one, or whoever there was in the other side. There was a lot of undercurrent in the overseas media about the poor quality of the Indian umpire. But the vindication, I think, of seeing these many years later with slightly enhanced visuals is that I don't think there was a single, because a lot of them have even written in their, like Gilchrist has written about him thinking he had an edge in Kolkata, and then Shane Warne has written about being given out, padding up in this innings. So they were all out with DRS technology. They were 100% out. So
correct.
I think that is another vindication which I think our Indian umpire Jay Prakash got, because he was this guy, right? Remember him? Like nobody gave faster than him.
LBW, yes.
Any appeal. I mean, the bowler would just start turning around to him, and his finger would go up like that. So it was quite.
In fact, we spoke about this last time. Last when we spoke about the Kolkata Test match, I was just thinking A.V. Jayaprakash and S.K. Bansal, they just have to see the ball hit the pad, and their hands will go up even before the umpire, even before the bowler is appealed.
Correct.
Because what I remember is the handling the ball for Steve Waugh, nobody appealed. I think they appealed, from what I remember. I could be wrong. Because it was an LBW, which according to me was fairly prime. Right. It was a right across the line, hit on middle, DRS में up out था. मतलब
Hmm.
pitched in line, hitting in line, knocking in line. It was a straight ball. But the fact that he wasn't given out LBW there was a disappointment in the close-in fielding. So I don't remember anybody appealing when Steve Waugh.
Okay.
So I think umpire just gave him out instant. The moment he put his hand, umpire went like that. Right. That's
it
my
was,
memory
I
of the
think that
highlights.
dismissal triggered the collapse again for Australia, and they were all out. I think there were only 3 wickets that India had to take, and after that,
Correct.
I think we had to put in the chase. And from the chase, I remember it was like a festive, mood. Even watching on TV, I was watching it on TV while I was.
No, Steve
away
was
from the ground.
handled. Steve was first innings. In the second
Oh, I'm
innings,
so sorry. Yeah, there was a collapse. Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
In
you're
the
right.
second
Yeah,
inning,
Steve
Steve Waugh got out, flicking Harbhajan to forward short leg. Das took a catch.
Yeah, I got confused with our sudden. We went back to day 2 and day 3, so I kind of got confused. But
Steve
yes,
Waugh was
on
the
day
only
5.
hope on that last. Anyway, forget it. Okay. Yeah. Now we are on day 5, right? Okay.
We're on day 5. Day 5. And I think the way India started, the way Sadagopan Ramesh was hitting, and the way I saw somebody like Jason Gillespie or Shane Warne having that look on their face, saying, "What the hell, man? Why are they
Correct.
going for boundaries?" It looked
Correct.
like Australia had given up. But the
Correct.
way Jason Gillespie was cranking up pace on what seemed like a lifeless surface, yes, I felt that, okay, you guys are putting the effort, you're not going to go take wickets. But then one Sachin Tendulkar wicket, and I think India lost 5 wickets for 30 odd runs. in that
I think
passage
the
of-
Sadgopan Ramesh run out triggered
Run
the
out
collapse
or something.
effectively.
So it was
Ridiculous.
basically 101 for 3 to 135 for 7. That was the collapse.
Yeah.
Then began, I mean, 101 for 3. They were, I think, 101 for 2, then 3, and 235 for 7. That was the whole collapse. And then, right, that ball that Gillespie bowled to Sachin, it was a bouncer that suddenly came up, and Sachin tried to duck, but he couldn't get his bat out of the way and went up. So, yeah, that's when the rear, and everybody, wickets fell, and of course, the run out. Sadgopan Ramesh was furious. I think who was
Yeah,
on the other? Who was at the other? Dravid? No, Lakshman.
Lakshman used to bat at 3, right? So Dravid came at 6 for
Correct.
the last 2 test matches.
Correct.
And I think even when Dada came in, I wasn't very confident Dada would last, because this has become a pattern. Around the wicket, ball with pace, Dada will either edge it or take it to slip. He was caught at
Once
slips.
Dada fell to Warren, no?
No. Dada didn't fall to a spinner the whole series.
Sure.
He was always nicking off throughout
Because
the
he
series.
scored only 4. He got a 4, and then he tried to hit again on the offside.
Got out to
Caught
Gillespie.
Mark for Bol Gillespie. Caught Mark
Gillespie.
for Bol Gillespie.
Okay, so it was
Slip,
must.
second slip.
But again, that same flashing outside. So good.
And I think when Dravid got out, which I think he tried to flick the ball, took the edge and then went to
leading
mid
edge.
off. That is when the fear started. When
Correct.
Lakshman got out, the fear was like, damn, we are losing this.
You
And then
remember
when
Lakshman?
Sairaj-
You remember the Mark Waugh catch of Lakshman's?
I know.
Yeah, crazy
Flinging
catch.
to his right and then taking that catch. Tony Gregg's.
There were two
tone
great
and
catches.
voice.
Both the catch. One was the Steve Waugh, which got Dravid, and then
Correct.
the Lakshman's catch was an incredible catch.
So that Lakshman's catch was 135 for 6. Then one more wicket fell.
Bhautule
We realized
was
See,
out.
Huh?
So that was
Right.
so coming back to what I said. No, it was plus 25. So I remember 135 means we are winning this. They
Correct.
managed to get to us. It was literally
For
that
me,
was
no,
my
you see,
philosophy.
because if you see the highlights and see Saurav Ganguly's face, he was so tense. It almost,
Yeah,
you know,
he almost took out all of his nails.
yeah, so near and yet so far. It's so panic. Then, of course, the unheard of Samir Dige pulled off. Those 3 4s he hit. The 3
Yeah,
boundaries.
but all of them towards third man, right? Like,
Correct,
cutting,
correct. All of
pulling, edging, everything going to third man.
correct.
Sometimes when I go to Chepauk, I sometimes want like one third man part saying this should be renamed as the Samir Dige. Like you have in Wankhede, the Dhoni
Correct.
box, it was a 6.
Correct,
This
correct.
should be the Samir Dige zone. Right?
Correct,
Because
correct.
that's like a iconic 12. Those 12 runs are the most iconic 12 runs that shaped Indian cricket. I'm hoping if Samir Dige is watching this, Samir
Correct.
Dige, you have fans here who remember
That's true.
from 25 years back. We want a petition for Samir Dige fans to rename a part of Chepauk, because those 12 runs.
Because
that
those
Samir Dige
22
scored-
runs were like any 100.
Right.
So that was
And the moment the ball
And-
went to the boundary, happiness that was there.
There's,
Wow.
there's one
It was
more.
like
One more. I would like to again point out the last 2. Okay, the winning runs were very poetically scored by Bhaji.
Harbhajan.
And Harbhajan, correct. So, and the best part was he was young, he was so sweet. After he got those 2 runs, he still was not very sure whether they had got it or not. So while the crowd was jumping, Bhaji was trying to look and he just checked to see if all was okay, you know. And he apparently told the non-striker, I forget who he was, and he said, check with the scorers. And then once it all got clear, then he actually celebrated, you know. So that was also very, very sweet last moment, that winning run moment. Also. Yeah.
Very much, and I still love that montage of, I think, the policemen celebrating, hands going up in slow motion. This is
Correct, correct.
beautiful.
I think I
documentary
remember
that's
Dada
there.
and Dravid hugging each other. I remember that scene where Dada and Dravid hugged each other near to the dressing room.
They were in the
Correct,
dressing room. Correct.
Yeah, they were in the dressing room and correct. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
Amit,
that
if I
makes
can just
sense.
ask I have one question for Amit as a younger cricket lover who understands contemporary cricket maybe much better than at least I do. But what I'm trying to understand is, when did you all see when you started loving cricket? Obviously, there's a time in your life when you're told about legends and legendary games. For instance,
Right.
there was a time in our lives when we heard about the 1971 tour of Gavaskar. We born in
Exactly.
the late 60s, we didn't see that. But you know, by the time we were 10 years old, or 11 years old, 12 years old, when we started loving cricket, people bags and all should talk about the 71 series. So
Right.
when did in your life when did this series come into your stream
So
of
yeah,
consciousness?
so this series was I told it initially when you did not join. So I remember watching the series very vividly, like the Kolkata Test, the test we won, and in this test, the last innings, seriously remember like how we were like very comfortably cruising, and then we suddenly lost 5 6
Hmm.
wickets, and
Hmm.
so I remember very vividly, and that was a time when like I started watching cricket in '96, which I remember, and we always
Hmm.
used to lose. Like it was always like India will lose. It's a miracle if we win, and then suddenly this series gave you the confidence. Okay, we can also compete with the best. So
Hmm.
I remember I think a week back when we watched the World Cup final,
Hmm.
the couple of my friends, my sister, they were all complaining like one-sided match tha yaar, maza nahi aaya finals. मैंने कहा यार, I am very happy with the one-sided winning.
Correct.
I have seen enough one-sided losses. I am very very happy if we win
I
one-sided.
really appreciate that sentiment. I totally agree.
So
That
that was a thing which gave you confidence. You became fan of Dada and the new team, and then
Hmm.
that is my memory with the team.
that was our breakfast conversation on March 9th.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
Right. Great.
So yeah, I think it was so beautiful trying to go back 25 years in time and recalling a test match with whatever faint memories we've had, watching off
Yeah.
YouTube highlights or memories from the game or just from the scorecard to cull it out. And I like probably doing this, and
Sure.
I think it's been amazing trying to share these moments. So
Yeah.
thanks for all the people who've been watching it along with us. 54 of you who are concurrently watching. Thanks a lot for your support.
Nice.
Do subscribe to the Cow Corner Dugout. We will be having similar such regular content where we go back in time to say what happened on this day, what test match happened, what are our memories of it. And if you are, I know one of the comments that came which I didn't feature was, you guys are nostalgia wankers. I was like, yeah, we are, but yeah, it's fun doing it. We're loving trying to go back memory lane.
Hmm.
So thanks to everyone who's been watching. Do subscribe to the Cow Corner Dugout. We'll be back with more shows during the IPL, and of course trying to relive some of the moments that have dominated world cricket or India cricket. We're there trying to talk about all of these. One last comment from each of you.
Nirav,
Yeah.
you go first.
Yeah, sure.
I miss Tony Greig, man. It was his voice which, before Ravi Shastri, it was his voice which synchronized with India's greatest moments through the 90s. I remember it was Tony Greig's voice, and it was as it was in this series and even in Kolkata. So I miss him. I mean, in the sense as a commentator, I really liked the way he used to give me an excitement towards the games.
No, I totally concur with that. And I'd just like to add, for me, it was the coming of age of the next generation of Indian cricketers who take Indian cricket to new shores, the new guys. Of course, many of them did not become a part of Dada's army, but some of them did. I mean, for instance, Harbhajan, for instance, Lakshman and Dravid, of course, were always there, and then the new guys came in. But I think the seeds of the future was sown in that series.
Yeah. And I think this was my first India Australia series which I vividly watched. But I think after that, all the BGTs that has happened, I've watched it very, very closely. So it will be
Right.
great if we can have a series on every BGT series since then. How our expectations changed, how the team changed, and everything. Yeah, both home and
Yeah,
away.
thanks for that idea. I think we should probably do that.
Great idea.
That's a good idea to talk about the BGT series. I know the last BGT series where I think three of us in this group went, and we were
Yeah.
watching. We were paying 75,000 per edge of Virat Kohli. 3 lakhs was the cost of the trip. 4 innings, all edge to slip.
So
And
actually, we are 9 months away from the BGT series, which will happen next January. So, and I think almost 9 to 10 BGT series has happened. So we can do one BGT every month to lead up to the main BGT, which will happen in January.
oh, that
We
sounds
could
like
look
a
at it.
plan.
Yeah, we could look
Yeah.
at it. Yeah, sure. We could look at it. Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Mm.
Okay, till then, it's Amit and Neerav signing off from the east of Bangalore, me signing off from the south of Bangalore, and Sujay signing off from south of Goa. See you, everyone.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your
Thank
company.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Great.
Bye, guys.
Night,
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks.